Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and all variations thereof. And welcome to session 40.5 of Shadows of Sorcery. Today is a one-shot session with myself and Dusty.
Hi!
We are about to do some backstory trauma.
Yippee!
All my players love to write traumatic backstories, and then they never expect me to do anything with it. Well, they're wrong. I love doing stuff with traumatic backstories. I love watching people just scramble when they realize that what they've written actually influences their character.
You gave Aluka a hot wife?
Did I? Oh yeah, I did. Well, kind of. More like hot boss. But, sure. Sure. Yeah. Okay, so, no recap today, because we're not going through a normal session. However, we will give some background. Dusty, if you would care to elaborate on your character.
Oh god.
This is what today's all about.
Don't ask me to do this. Bye! What do you mean?
Name, race, general characteristics. Describe them.
Lizard. I'm thinking. I did forget you were going to be streaming this. I was a little unprepared.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I stream all the sessions, so...
Scary.
Would you like me to describe them?
Maybe.
Alright. Dusty's character. Standing at 3'1", a kobold monk called Veezara Ochiva. This interesting creature heralds from the southwestern regions of the Radavi continent, from the outskirts of a city called Nekrinir. And that is where we are beginning today's story. The scene opens. A vast set of plains, mountainous regions, and a long, extensive chasm carved like a ruddy scar across the landscape, ending in 5 smaller chasms that rend apart the landscaped city of Nekrinir. The broken bones of the temple of the god of time stand on the precipice at the edge of one of these chasms. Nekrinir, a city long forsaken by the gods, long left to the mechanisms and machinations of madmen. This is where our story takes place today. It is 13 years prior to the events of the main campaign. And our protagonist, if you will, is just 6 years old. 12 in kobold years, if you will. Kobolds have half the lifespan of a normal human, and they mature faster. So 12 years old is about accurate. It's late night. Darkness envelops the streets. Necranir is not a pleasant place to be, even during the daytime, and the dark streets only amplify this. Deep in the back streets of the city, a lone kobold wanders, lost and alone. It's been a few days since they arrived in the city. They had lived on the outskirts for many years, with their clan, until one day disaster struck, and they watched their family torn limb from limb by rampant magics.
Right.
Now, they wander through the back streets of Necranir, aimless and unknowing of the dangers that could be posed. Dusty.
Ah.
Trauma time.
Yippee! Let's fucking go!
So, you are essentially playing a 6-year-old kobold. You are playing the equivalent of a level 1 character in this vein of things.
Okay.
So, your stats are maxed at 15, and your health, I should say, is maxed at 15, and your general disposition is a lot weaker than normal. You can only punch at the moment, and your punches do between 1 and 2 points of damage.
Small.
You are small. You are very small. You are in the back streets of Necranir. You can see in the distance, over the rooftops and the houses, the skeletal, crooked figure of the temple to Metano, that sits on a hill overlooking the city itself, like an ancient guardian that has long been forsaken and gutted by the city it serves. You are wandering down a back street. There is light coming from various windows. You are cold. And you are scared. What do you do?
Try knocking on a door?
Okay. You knock, but no one answers. Necranir is not a city that takes the night lightly. From roaming gangs and the watch that is just as corrupt, to plague bearers and sickness that seems to infest parts of the city. No one will open their doors at this time of night. As you turn a corner and walk down a street, you spy refuse and broken stone and mortar, and what looked to be, at the end of the street, a small gang of varying people, all kicking about various pieces of mortar and bricks. They don't look particularly friendly, but they're the first people that you have seen in this place.
Okay.
Do you
I
approach?
take it you're prompting me.
Yes, I am.
Gonna get a little bit closer, but try and find a corner that I can kind of hide behind and watch them.
Okay. Roll me a stealth check. That would be a... So roll me a stealth check. That would be a d20 plus your stealth skill.
Oh god, what is my stealth skill?
It'll be on your character under all the little skills next to your stats.
12 plus 9? Question mark? Hi.
Oh. Hi. Let me see.
You guys ready for the most awkward stream of your fucking life?
Yep. Your stealth is a +9. So, yes.
Yes.
You can just click on... Because we're using Roll20 at the moment, you can just click on the stealth skill and it'll roll it for you.
Awesome.
Which you have managed. So that is a 23 on stealth. You sidle up to the corner of a building. Your ruddy green scales actually make blending into the muddy, sort of darkened coloration of the area around you quite easy. You look over at this group of 3. A man, tall and rugged, lanky and ill-kept, holding a pair of sharp-looking knives, is kicking around some bricks and talking to 2 other figures who you can't quite make out. And the conversation doesn't sound particularly pleasant. And it goes something like this. You know, at Baker, over on... Oh, what's the fucking street name? Baker. There's a baker, right? And he ain't been paying his protection money. So I says, we cut a finger. And another one goes, look, we can't go to that fucking baker, right? He doesn't do protection money for us. He does protection money to the, fucking scarabs. Scarabs own that territory. And the first one goes, well, maybe we should own that territory. Just a finger. Maybe we take one from the jewelers next door as well. Huh? Just a little bit of pocket money. And the third one, who's been silent up until now, chips in and goes, look, we don't want to mess with the scarab's business. There's more of them. Yeah, maybe we can deal with a few of them, but they're like rats. They swarm, and then they'll take our territory. And the first one goes, What do you suggest then? And the second one goes, well, you know, I heard just down the street there's this lady, right? And she brought all of these fancy dresses and jewels when she moved to the city. No one's seen her since, so I say we break in, we ransack the place, and then we fence it all off. The first one goes, alright, sure. What are you doing while this conversation ensues?
I just kind of peeking around the corner.
Okay. You find yourself preoccupied with watching these figures. You don't notice
Oh god.
when a fourth figure starts stepping down the path through the city. A tall, dragonborn figure holding a heavy shield and a wicked-looking curved blade.
Yippee.
In heavy armor, he strides forward. Faceplate covering a long snout. Tail whipping back and forth. All of it armored with this heavy black plate mail. The scuffed and dented symbol of a rose emblazoned on his chest. He strides past you, ignoring you completely, towards this band of ruffians, and calls out to them. By the name of the Order of the Black Rose, you are under arrest for crimes against the city of Necronir. The first figure, the one with the long knives, looks up at him, wide-eyed, and barks a laugh. The Order of the Black Rose? You've gotta be joking. The Baroness ran you lot out of time long ago. You're just a make-believe playing dress up. And he pulls out his knives. The first figure, tall, knight-like figure, stands to his full height, a good 8 feet tall, pulls the sword from his back, readies the shield. Stand down, or you will face justice. The other figures around the scoundrel-like blade wielder ready their weapons. I need you to roll me initiative, Dusty. Because you are close to the combat, even though you have not engaged yet.
Up.
Okay. Quickly roll for this. Oh, wonderful. So that's a 26.
I do like that you can just fling stuff around. That's really fun.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So. The paladin steps forward, blade drawn, and charges, closing the distance between himself and the knife wielder in a blink. It's so fast to your eyes. He slams his shield into this person, slamming them down to the ground. This person barely has a time to react before they are knocked prone onto the ground. However, the paladin's blade, where it almost pins this figure, misses as the figure rolls to the side. Next, this figure dashes back to his feet and moves in to slice a blade up under the plate armor of the paladin. However, it glances off the plate armor, does not find its target. You see small sparks as metal crashes into metal. It is your turn in the initiative. Do you continue to watch, or do you want to intervene?
Not gonna show myself yet.
Okay. One of the figures from further back, an archer by the look of it, pulls a heavy crossbow out and readies it, aiming at the paladin. The arrow launched from the crossbow, a heavy bolt, lodges itself deep in the shoulder of this paladin. You hear a cry of pain. The paladin slams down onto one knee before struggling to his feet again. The other figure draws a longbow. It's not suited for this environment. The arrow that they fire glances off the left shoulder, where the right had the bolt embedded in it. The paladin brings his sword towards the first figure again. But too quick, figure dodges back. Paladin brings his sword round for a second swing. This time, the blow hits, slicing across the chest of his first assailant. But the wound is taking its toll. This assailant takes a few points of damage, but brings his knives back around to deal blows to the paladin, but still cannot seem to get through the plate armor. We are back to your turn.
Gonna get closer again and go to the corner on the right.
Corner on the
The
right.
rocks. Yeah.
So over to here. And about here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you stealth
Right
around
there.
with a 23 in stealth. You still aren't observed. You're very good at keeping yourself camouflaged, and you are small. At this point, you probably stand at less than 2 feet tall, given your age.
Baby.
But from this angle, you can see the heavy crossbow bolt that is sticking out of this paladin's shoulder. Blood slowly trickling out of the wound over the blackened plate mail. The crossbowman reloads and fires a second bolt. This time, the bolt pierces the side of the armor and deals more damage. You see the paladin stumble back as this bolt embeds itself straight through the side of his armor, bending the metal in on itself. These bolts piercing through the armor itself and bending it around.
Yeah.
The archer brings the bow up, but the arrow once again glances off the armor and clatters into the alleyway beyond. The paladin swings for the first figure and hits, bringing his sword down across the chest. But before dealing the finishing blow, instead of killing outright, he brings the pommel of his sword up under the figure's chin and knocks them unconscious to the floor. He advances on the archer. It is your turn.
Can I take the knives from the unconscious guy?
Okay. Roll, since you're getting very close, I'll hold your stealth check as it stands, but roll me a sleight of hand.
Ooh. $15.
15. You get close to the unconscious body of this scoundrel-like figure, and you manage to pull these two wicked-looking stiletto knives away from him. They are unpleasant looking. The blades are notched and battered. The handles, barely handles at this point, more like worn away roundels of wood that have got grooves and small marks all over them. These are knives that have not been well kept, and they have seen some blood. The crossbow wielder drops the crossbow and draws a short sword as the paladin gets closer. They lunge forward, and the short sword strikes a blow straight across the paladin's chest. Paladin stumbles back a few feet, and you see blood start to seep from under the plate armor. And it does not look like the paladin will be winning this fight.
Alone.
The bowman pulls another arrow back, unwilling to drop the bow, but again, the arrow glances off the paladin's armor. The paladin lunges forward, two swipes aimed directly at the bowman. The first one misses. Second one lands a hit. Again, not to kill, landing the flat of the blade on the side of the bowman's head. The bowman knocked unconscious. Stumbling forward, the paladin turns to the last figure. It is now your turn once more.
Get they ass. I am going to take the knives that I have, and I'm going to attack the bowman.
Okay.
Crossbowman.
Roll me a... You don't have the knives on your character sheet yet. Roll me a d20 for now.
You got it. 18.
18. That'll hit. You, as the paladin raggedly advances on the bowman, and the bowman holds a short sword ready, he's not expecting the flanking maneuver that you pull, launching yourself over the bricks and bringing these knives down out of nowhere. Roll me, because you're a kobold and you're not very strong, roll me 2d4.
Both 4.
Okay, so that is 8 points of damage. You land these knives, one almost cutting straight through this figure's throat, the other plunging into their stomach. It's the first time you have seen blood. I want you to roll me a wisdom saving throw.
Oh, how do I do that?
So, saving throws... Okay, hold on, let me look up the specific rules on saving throws real quick, just so that I know that I have this correct. Saving throws... 179. Saving throw. A saving throw, also called a save, represents an attempt to resist a spell, trap, a poison, a disease, or a similar threat. You don't normally decide to make a saving throw, you are forced to make one because your character or monster is at risk of harm. To make a saving throw, roll a d20 and add the appropriate ability modifier. So, in this instance, you would be rolling a wisdom saving throw. Your ability modifier on wisdom is a 0, so you wouldn't add anything.
Okay. What specifically am I rolling?
Wisdom. Okay. So, the reason I had you roll a saving throw here is this. You are a child. Barely 6 years old, 12 in kobold years. This is the first time you have seen blood. This is the first time you have inflicted this sort of pain on someone else. So I'm having you roll a saving throw to see if your character is going to be able to resist the traumatic implications right now.
Great.
So we rolled a 15. The DC on this is 15. So the DC means difficulty class.
Okay.
With D&D, we run on a system of meets it, beats it. You rolled a 15, the DC is 15, so you beat the DC because you rolled equivalent, right? So, you plunge a dagger into this figure's chest. The second one almost goes past their throat. You see the blood seep out of this wound over your hand. You feel the warmth of this blood. But it doesn't affect you, maybe as much as it should have. Maybe because of the traumatic events that have led to you being where you are now. it doesn't affect you as much as you expect it to. You are small.
Correct.
And the crossbowman is not. The first thing the crossbowman is going to try and do is throw you off him. But apparently, this crossbowman is weak as fuck. He tries to wrench you away, but the blood loss is compounding. And you are gripping onto his torso by the knives that you have stabbed into him. Thank you, Dusty. And he is not looking good. The paladin comes up behind you as this figure is struggling. You see him wrench a crossbow bolt out of his shoulder.
Ooh.
And he comes up behind you and he grabs you by the scruff of your neck and pulls you away. And turns to the crossbowman and slams the pommel of his sword against the side of his head, knocking him out. And holds you up by the scruff of your neck as you... Do you struggle? Do you hang there limply?
I just kind of let it happen.
Okay, so you, as you sad cat hang from his hand, he holds you up and he looks at you. And this is the first time you're getting a good look at his face. Or not his face necessarily, but the iron helmet. The black iron helmet that is covering his whole head. And the amber glowing eyes that sit behind the knight's helm. And
Hold
he
on.
looks at you.
Okay.
And he looks at you. In a gruff voice, he says, "There is no need for a child to get involved in these matters." Do you say anything in reply?
No.
No. He looks intrigued. The defiant stare that you're giving him. He looks over at the knife wounds that cause blood to trickle out of this body that lays before him. He looks back at you. Where are your parents, child?
He kind of just looks away.
Another orphan of war. I see. Very well. I shall not turn away one in need. You may stay with me for a few days, but after that, well, I suppose we'll see. He drops you down to the floor The knives that you held in your hand are still embedded in the figure that is lying bleeding out on the ground. And he turns away and says, "Follow," and starts walking away. What do you do?
Follow?
Do you want to grab the knives before you do?
I start following, pause, and I look back, and I grab one of the knives.
Grab one of the knives. Okay.
I'm a bit unweak.
Okay. So you take one of the knives, you tuck it into the tattered belt that you are wearing, and then you follow this heavy, armored figure out of this dingy little back street. A few miles of walking. Your feet are tired, though the figure ahead of you has several wounds and is bleeding. They show no sign of slowing until they reach the outskirts of the city, almost up in the hills, just tucked away in the forest, to where they reach a cabin. Small, nondescript, with some stone walls, some wood, a thatched roof, a tall chimney, and a warm, inviting light on the inside. This place is what you will come to know as home for the foreseeable future, and where your mentor, Joachim Ochiva, whose name you will one day inherit, lives. Over the next few years, because it does become years, Ochiva teaches you about the Order of the Black Rose, the knights that once held order within the city of Necronir, before they were cast out by the Baroness and her many, many allies. The Knights of the Black Rose are peacekeepers, those who strive to maintain order. Many of them, in recent years, roam the wilds, bringing order to whatever small pockets of land they can. But their history is bloody. 15 to 20 years before these events, the Temple of Metano was burnt to the ground, with the head of their order still inside. The Baroness Vorsina Utrecht Hamora, known as the Lady of Wolves, oversaw this burning, bringing down the only known true peacekeeping force in Necronir. With the final death of the final thought of death of the Order of the Black Rose, Necronir became a godless place. Worship is frowned upon, and the only true reliance can be placed on your own head and no one else's. You live for a number of years learning about this from Joachim, within the relative safety of the outlands of Necronir. Eventually, Ochiva puts you to work learning the trade that the Order of the Black Rose would dedicate its time to, learning how to harm and how to heal. Ochiva instills a few different ideals into you. Never kill without cause. Never harm without necessity. Always analyze a situation before deciding violence to be a recourse. He also teaches you methods of healing, ways to manipulate the energy in one's body to accelerate the healing process. One day, while you're out and about, you find a bird laying on the side of the road, a raven. It seems injured. One of its wings bends at an odd angle, and it squawks feebly. What do you do?
Approach it very carefully, trying not to scare it. Very gently put my hands on it and try to heal it.
Okay, so in this instance, you are going to use something that is part of your subclass. It is called Hands of Healing. It is part of the Way of Mercy subclass. This is listed under your features and traits section, and utilizes key points. Now, key points are what you use as a monk. They are essentially the things that you would use in battle on a regular basis.
Okay.
But they are not necessarily restricted to battle. Hold on. Let me pull up here we go. So, at this point in time, you would probably be around a 5th level monk, which means you can spend up to 5 key points per combat encounter. Or per day, I should say. So, the way this works, your mystical touch can mend wounds. As an action, you can spend 1 key point to touch a creature and restore a number of hit points equal to roll of your martial arts die plus your wisdom modifier. At 5th level, your martial arts die would be a d6. So, wisdom is going to be relatively useful for your character. Okay, so roll me a d6 as you attempt to heal this creature.
3.
So, you place your hands on this little one's wing and do a series of gestures, touch a series of points across its body, and imbue it with the healing power of your key. You watch as the bones in its wing start to reset. You hear a small snap as things put themselves back into place. Before the crow sort of stops squawking for a moment, flexes its wings experimentally, before taking off in flight. Circling you once, you hear a caw before it disappears off towards the forest. About as much as a thanks as you'll get from most forest creatures. But it is the first time that you manage to put your healing hands to use. Okay. A few years after this, your mentor sends you out on a small errand. There's a local village, maybe about 2 kilometers from where your mentor lives, that has been having some small troubles. Nothing major, just creatures that shouldn't be roaming around. At this point, you would be at about 7th level. So you would have 7 key points across your entire combat range. You come to the village, and the elder, shall we say, leads you to a small basement where they've managed to corral whatever creature has been causing you trouble. Causing them trouble, rather. As it turns out, this creature happens to be a rat. Though it is a rat unlike any that you have seen before, its size almost rivals your own. And it is not particularly happy to see you. This is a one-on-one combat. I will set your health to be around 50, which is what you would normally have at this stage. The rat, well, you'll find out how much health it has. Okay. This is a combat encounter.
Yippee!
Roll me initiative. Doesn't really matter. One of you will go first. But 13, and the rat rolls a natural 20. So the rat goes first. Okay. So, the moment you step into the basement, the rat sees you and it lunges. And it is going to bite you. Because that's what rats do. For a natural 20...
Are you fucking serious?
I am. That's what got rolled. Its bite is just a d4, so it's nothing major. But it does do 4 points of damage to you.
Great.
Because a natural 20 will always... What you'll do with a natural 20 is you will take the original result and you will multiply it by 2.
Oh.
So, nat 20s are pretty good. But that's pretty much its only action. What do you do? The rat has made it pretty clear diplomacy is not an option. You can try diplomacy, but the rat doesn't seem to be interested in it at the moment.
Can I try to grapple it?
Can you try and grapple it?
Yeah, just...
Okay. So a grapple is a contested strength situation. You will roll your athletics, and the rat can use either acrobatics or athletics to get out of the grapple. So, roll me your athletics. Okay. And the rat...
If it's another 20, I'm gonna scream.
rolls a 7, which totals to a 9. So you have successfully grappled the rat. It's almost the same size as you are. It's a very big rat. Okay, what do you do from here? That grappling was... Actually, let me very quickly check something. Unarmored movement. Okay, yeah, no. Grapple counts as your main action, so that is your full action for this turn. Unless you want to spend a key point to do something else, or use a bonus action.
A what?
Okay, so as a monk, right, you get an action and a bonus action, like every other character in D&D. Whenever you're... Okay, no, hold on. You get an action, a bonus action, and a reaction. The action and bonus action you can do on your turn. A reaction you can do on someone else's turn. With your monk abilities, you can use key points to essentially do additional stuff. If you do an attack action, you can use Flurry of Blows. You spend a key point and you make additional attacks as a bonus action. You can also use Patient Defense or Step with the Wind. We won't get into any of those right now, but if you have questions, I will happily answer them later on. So, you still have a bonus action. What do you want to do?
Can I just kind of look it over?
Sure. You have the Observant feat. Let me quickly check how that works. Means I need to find the feats chapter. I should probably bookmark that. Feats. There we go. 165. 63. 165. Lucky. Observance. Okay. Okay, this is actually good information to know. Because you have the Observant feat, you can pick one of these to increase your ability score by. Either Wisdom or Intelligence you can increase by 1.
Ooh.
It is up to you as to which one you want to do, because we haven't done that yet.
Wisdom.
Wisdom? Okay.
Yeah.
So that goes up to 12. Wonderful. Okay. When you have the Observant feat, you can see when you can see a creature's mouth while it is speaking a language you understand, you can interpret what it's saying by reading its lips. And you have a +5 bonus to your passive wisdom, perception, and passive intelligence investigation scores, which I will need to take into account at some point. So, perception, passive wisdom, and passive intelligence. Okay, yeah. I'll keep those in account later on. But yeah. So roll me. What exactly are you looking for on the rat? What is your intention?
Anything out of the ordinary?
Okay. Roll me investigation.
Oh.
You don't know rats very well. In fact, you haven't seen that many rats, other than when you ventured into Necronir with your mentor. You haven't seen that many rats at all. This one doesn't appear to be any different to most rats that you've seen, other than the fact that it's a good 3 times larger. So, you can't really tell if there's something wrong with this rat. At least to your eyes at the moment.
Awesome.
So what do? You still have a bonus action. Actually, technically you wouldn't have a bonus action because, yeah. Okay, it is the rat's turn. The rat is going to try and bite you because you are right next to it and it wants a piece of you. That is a 18 to hit. Your armor class is 15. Technically 16. But your armor class is 16. But that does hit. So it will do 2 points of damage to you. And it is now your turn again.
Yippee. Bye, Luca. Don't die.
So what do you do, Dusty?
Great question.
You currently have a rat grappled.
Can I try to just knock it out?
Yeah, non-lethal blows are an option.
Epic.
Okay. Roll me an attack, and do you want to use Flurry of Blows?
No.
No. Okay. So just roll me a straight d20.
Six.
6 will not hit. You have the rat
Great.
grappled, but it is squirmy. So yeah, it is not going to take any damage from that. Hold on. Let me check something real quick. Okay, so since you didn't hit on that, you have the option, because you took the attack action, you have the option to spend a key point to make another 2 attacks as a bonus action. Would you like to do that? Because that's what Flurry of Blows does.
Yes.
Yes, okay, so you strike off 1 key point. So you go from 7 to 6, and you roll me 2d20.
20 and 2.
20 and 2. So the second attack does not hit at all. The first attack does hit. So roll me, because, let's see, so let's say 7th level. So roll me a d6.
5.
5. So, with your attack, you do a +5 to your attack. So that's so you did 5. You rolled a 20. So then you rolled a 5 for your attack, for the damage. Then because you rolled a 20, you multiply the die, so you get a 10, and then you add your modifier from your character, which is another 5, make 15. So you deal 15 points of damage to the rat. It is still squirming. It is not knocked out. But you deal a bit of damage.
Yippee.
Okay. Rat's turn. Rat is gonna bite. Because that's what a rat does. Rat is gonna fail at biting. Miserably. Your turn.
Hit it again.
Hit it again. Okay.
Rat wrestling session.
Yep. You need to roll me a d20.
4.
4? Okay, so that misses. Do you want to use another key point?
Yeah.
Okay. So mark off another key point, and roll me another 2 d20s.
What is my total number of key right now?
Hmm?
Total key point number?
So it goes up by level, right? So
Uh-huh.
at 7th level, you have 7, and at 20th level, you have 20.
Okay.
So currently you have 7. When we go into the main campaign, you will be at 9, so you will have 9 key points.
Epic. Repeat what I'm doing?
Roll me 2 d20.
Okay. 18 and 4.
So the second one misses, but the first one will hit, so roll me a d6.
5.
5. Okay, so that's 5 plus another 5 from your modifier, so that's 10 points of damage to the rat.
Yippee!
It is still up. Maybe I gave this rat too much health. Anyway. Rat's turn. Rat is gonna bite. Still grappled. So you're just kind of rolling around on the floor with this rat, trying to punch it.
Really good.
The rat is going to fail at biting miserably, once again, because it is grappled, and it is having trouble with that. It is your turn. What do you do?
It's just gonna be a back and forth.
Yeah, okay. Roll me another d20.
Yippee! 10.
10. So 10 with your modifier, which is a 5. No, sorry, your attack modifier, which is a 9, would hit. So that's 19 to hit, essentially. So roll me damage.
Huh?
So roll me a d6.
Okay. 4.
4. Okay, so 4 plus 5 is 9. That's another 9 points of damage. Do you want to spend another key point for Flurry
No.
of Blows?
No.
No. Okay. Next. Do you want to do anything else this turn?
No.
No? Okay. Rat time. Rat is gonna bite. Because he's not very smart. Rat manages to bite.
Yippee!
And is going to... Yeah, okay. Is going to bite for 2 points of damage. You're getting a little bit scratched up. Not much, but a little bit. Okay. So, now it is your turn.
And get its ass.
Okay, roll me a d20.
8.
8. 8 plus 9, 17. So it's a rat. 17 will hit. So roll me damage. In this instance, a d6.
4.
4. That's 9 points of damage. The rat is looking very much worse for wear. It's kind of been pummeled at this point.
Yippee!
But you're going for the non-lethal option, right?
Yes.
Okay. Right. Rat time. Rat is gonna rat, and it's gonna try and bite. That does not hit. Your turn.
Yippee! D20 again?
D20 again. Every
Yippee!
time you roll an attack to, like, hit, it'll always be a D20.
Okay. 11.
11 plus 9, 20. That'll hit. So roll me damage.
3.
3. With a final decisive crack, you bring your hand down on the rat's head and knock it unconscious. It is... Because you have gone for the non-lethal option, it is unconscious but stable. If you were to go for the lethal option, the rat would start making death saving throws. And this would happen to you as well if you dip below 0 hit points. If your attacker is going for a lethal option, you will start doing death saving throws. If you fail 3 death saving throws, doesn't matter if they're in a row or not, you will die. Just straight up.
Epic.
You can be rezzed. You can be, revived. But if you've died, and more than a minute has passed, the revival cost is significantly higher, as is the challenge of the spell to do it. Okay. So, rat is unconscious. What are you gonna do with the rat?
I guess just bring it back up to the guy.
Okay, so the village elder brought you in to, like, deal with the rat. You have dealt with the rat, but he doesn't want the rat. He just wants you to be rid of the rat, essentially. So what are you doing with the rat?
I'm taking it with me.
You're taking it with you. Okay.
Yes.
You travel. You head back home. You travel. Carrying the rat in your small rucksack at this point. About halfway there, you start hearing scrabbling as the rat wakes up in your bag and starts trying to gnaw its way out. What do you do?
Is there any sort of food nearby? Maybe a berry of some sort?
You're traveling through relatively barren fields. Most of the fields around Necronir are barren at this point. There's maybe a few bits of grain here and there that have been left over from old harvests, but nothing major. If you want to roll me a survival check, we can see if you can find some food for the rat.
Yippee!
Okay, 16. You look around a few different fields, and eventually you come by a small pile of old grain that looks like it'd be decently good enough to feed a rat. And the rat is, like, you've noticed that it's slowly starting to chew through your bag at this point. So you feed the rat some grain, and it seems to calm down, at least for the moment. You continue on until eventually you return to the small homestead that you and your erstwhile adopted father live in, with rat in tow. The rat seems to be relatively calm, considering that it's stuck in a bag at the moment. As you get back to the homestead, you notice that something is off. The lights that are usually lit within the homestead are snuffed, the house dark, and seemingly empty. What do you do?
I go in.
Okay. You enter the house, and it looks, for all intents and purposes, as if Ochiva has just stepped out for a moment. Bed is made, both beds. Now, your small cot lies in another corner of the house. The books are stacked neatly, table clear, the fireplace laid and ready to be lit. But all the lights that would usually be left burning, even when you aren't around, are snuffed. Your adopted father's armor that usually stands on a sort of mannequin type thing in the corner is missing. The sword and shield that usually sit by the bed are gone as well. The traveling pack that you've known your adopted father to usually carry is also gone. On the desk, slipped under a book, after a few minutes of searching, you find a note that says, Veezara, I will be gone for a while. Don't look for me. P.S. Please don't bring any more weird pets home.
Well, shit.
What do you do?
Take a moment to process.
Okay. You take a moment. The silence settles like a weight over your shoulders. The house feels very empty at the moment.
Gonna walk over to my cot and relight whichever one is closest to it.
You're gonna relight a candle, essentially.
Yes.
Okay. You light a few candles around the house. It is quiet. A lot quieter than usual, it seems, other than the cawing of the crows outside. Which, now that you think about it, the crows don't usually stray this far from the city. Oftentimes, the crows generally stay near to Necroneer itself, feeding on the trash and refuse that the city tends to leave in the streets. So them being this close to the homestead is odd. You walk outside, and you see there's not just a few crows. There's 20, maybe 30 spiraling around the house, landing in the trees, hopping on the fences, all of them looking towards the homestead. Roll me
God.
a perception check.
Bump. Ooh!
Ooh, natural 20. Okay. You look around. You notice that the rat in your pack has gone strangely still, as if fear has taken hold of it. You look to the entrance of the homestead, a small padlock gate. At first, you think you're imagining it. The large, dark shadow of a wolf-like figure, gleaming silver eyes, slathering jaws, bone-white teeth. But it's very real, and it looks very dangerous. And then you blink, and it's gone. Suddenly, the crows flutter and take flight. The beat of wings, feathers against the air, loud in your ears. The murder flies up into the air and disperses towards the city of Necronir. You look back towards the gate, just in time to see the swish of a shadowed tail as it disappears down the road.
Great!
You look around, taking in new information. You spot a large white ring around the homestead. Step closer, pick up a few granules of what seem to be salt laying on the floor, spread around the homestead in a wide circle. You had the feeling that you were being followed earlier. Now you're certain. But whatever it was, it wouldn't get close to the house.
Great!
What do you do?
Go back inside, I guess.
Okay. So you go back inside. The rat in your pack has started scrabbling around again.
I'm going to let the rat out.
In the house?
Yes.
Okay, you let the rat out in the house. You drop it on the floor. The rat's first instinct is not to attack you. It is to find a way to get out of here.
Fair enough.
Would you have left the door open?
No.
No. Then the rat is going to attempt to leap out a window. Because glass isn't really a thing here. At least not this far out in the sticks. Do you attempt to stop it?
Yes.
Okay. How do you attempt to stop it?
Gonna grab it.
Okay. So roll me a athletics check.
Up.
Okay, 15. Let's see how the rat does. The rat rolls a natural 1. You grab the rat by its tail and hang it up. It
Awesome.
kind of just struggles before going limp in defeat. You are holding a rat in an empty house. What do you do? Gonna need to make decisions faster than this, Dusty.
Yeah, I know.
Especially during the actual campaign.
I know. There's a reason I have avoided D&D for a while.
I know. This is why we're doing a session 0, technically.
What
so
was
that
that?
you have a chance to
I was
figure
gonna
this
start
stuff out.
talking to it.
You're gonna start talking to the rat. Okay.
Yes.
Talk away.
Oh god.
It's time to roleplay, Dusty.
Pain and suffering and agony.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I'm holding the rat.
You're holding a rat.
Kinda,
By the tail at the moment.
maybe get it in a more comfortable holding position.
Okay, you pick it,
Like a cat.
you turn it around, you pick it up under the arms like a cat.
Very good. I'm gonna look
looks
at it.
at you oddly.
I'm gonna look at it, and I'm gonna very softly go, "You can't go out there, buddy. There's something out there. And I kept you alive for a reason, and I don't want you to just go out there and die again."
Squeak.
I'm gonna get a little smooch on the head.
Okay.
Yeah. Going to attempt to set it down and see what it does.
Roll me animal handling.
Ooh. Oop.
Okay, a 20 on animal handling. That's not bad. The rat doesn't necessarily understand what you're trying to say, but it stays.
Yippee!
It kind of just... It is under the impression that since you fed it and you're not punching it anymore, you might actually be an okay person to be around. Also, it's about the same size as you, so it's kind of confused.
My only friend in this world.
Okay. What do you do?
What is there to do?
You are in an empty house? Do you want me to accelerate time a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. You spend a good week just taking care of the homestead. The crows come back several times over the course of this week. But you don't see the wolf again. The circle of salt grows muddy as the rain pours until eventually it is no more. Roll me an investigation check. Okay. Eventually, almost completely by accident, as you're stumbling around, you come across a loose floorboard near to your father's, or adopted father's, bed. You pry it up, and underneath you find a small box containing a ring and a odd-looking book.
Ooh.
The book turns out to be a journal. Your father's journal, as a matter of fact. The last entry is especially worrying. It talks about the Baroness, about finding other members of the Order, and about something called a wandering library. These concepts seem odd, foreign to you. Generally speaking, they don't seem particularly useful either. But it's been a week, and Ochiva has never been away this long before, and it's starting to worry you. The diary also contains possible directions that Ochiva went in. There's notes on the city of Farrenholm, as well as the northern Rudavi continent, and a place called the Crystal Wastes.
Ooh.
It has been a week. What do you do?
Gonna pick up that travel bag that I had the rat in. Kinda scrounge up whatever I'd need to go on a journey. And, go out to look.
Do you take the knife?
Yes.
Okay. I would like you to add a stiletto blade to your inventory. So, under attack and spellcasting, right? Press the little plus button.
Uh-huh.
Add a stiletto blade under the name. The attack type is dexterity, or dex. The range is 5 feet. The damage is 1d6 plus dex.
Do I check proficient?
You are not proficient in this.
Okay.
Your damage type is piercing. And yeah, that's it.
Cool.
And now you have a stiletto blade.
Yippee! I have knife.
You have knife. Now I should point out, knife is not necessarily the best weapon for you to use.
Yeah.
But this blade has been with you basically since childhood at this point.
Party mode.
You pack up some rations, a few bits and pieces. You pull on your father's old cloak that he left behind, the one that is emblazoned with the symbol of the Order of the Rose. And you put the rat, who hasn't quite become your faithful companion yet, but is getting there, in your backpack. And you head out. Absent-mindedly, you also pick up a small pouch of salt and tuck that in your pack as well. Where is your first destination? You are 16 in human years at this point. 2 years before you meet the rest of the party.
Hmm. What was the most recent location mentioned in the journal?
The most recent location mentioned in the journal is the Crystal Wastes.
Well,
Okay. You're gonna have to give me a little bit more to work with here.
what do you mean?
Welp does not give me much to work with. What do you want to do?
I'm going to set off in the... Well, do I know where it is?
You have no idea where it is.
Okay, I'm gonna go try and find someone that does.
Okay. Do you want to head into Necronir to do so? Or do you want to go somewhere else?
Somewhere else.
Okay. You travel for a few days until you reach the outskirts of a small town. Roll me an investigation check.
Oh.
Some people have heard of the Crystal Wastes. Not many. They can give you a vague, it's in the north idea, but that's about it. So you start traveling north. Walk, you live off the land. You've gotten quite good at it at this point. Your father has taught you a great deal about that sort of thing. The rat and you become relatively fine companions at this point. Does your rat have a name?
Jeffrald.
Are you sure you want to select this name? Locking in name selection in 3,
No!
1.
Barnaby.
I'm sorry. That name is no longer available.
No!
Jeffrey is now your rat.
Let's go!
So you and Jeffrald, the rat, spend almost a year trekking your way across the Radavi continent. Occasionally stopping in small towns, picking up odd jobs here and there, making a little bit of coin on the way. Surprisingly, the tabard, or the cloak rather, of the Order of the Black Rose does actually open a few doors. Members of towns that have had decent encounters with the knights and are always happy to assist someone of their caliber. Eventually, you make it to the outskirts of the Crystal Wastes. I would like you to roll me a wisdom saving throw as you step your first foot into this forsaken land.
Wisdom?
Yes, wisdom saving throw. So that is a 7. You start walking through the decimated fields of the Crystal Wastes, and they are decimated. You can see several major ruined fortifications across the flattened plains. Large shards of glass and crystal towering 20 to 30 feet high. Jagged wrenches of terrain that have just been scorched until they melted into glass across the entire area. as you step further forward, you can feel the magic of the land slowly draining. The cloak that you wear, the instruments that you carry, you can feel their magic slowly leaving, slowly being pulled away. You look around and you start to feel cold, as if the very air itself is trying to tear itself from your lungs. You are taken back a good 12 years to when you were just 3 years old, 6 in kobold years. Your clan has just moved down from the mountains. Many kobolds around you, a good 20 to 30 of them. You've just moved down from the mountains. You've made a small settlement. And then in the night, a figure comes, passes through the settlement. A figure in black robes, burning red, silvery eyes. You feel the same feeling that you feel now back then. Your lungs burn as the cold air is ripped from them. The magic around you drained from within you and from without. The draconic energies that make up your kobold essence being pulled from your very soul. You watch as you stand both in the Crystal Wastes and in your home, seeing as far as the eye can see the bones of creatures, the bodies of your clan being drained of their magic, that power and essence draining into this black-robed figure with these silver eyes. You run, your first instinct. You can feel your soul seeping away, but you run. And eventually, you leave your settlement far behind. That seeping feeling lessens. But the cold, the chill that sits in your bones reminds you of all of it. And the Crystal Wastes are a place of death. Welcome to Trauma Town.
Yippee!
Roll me a perception check. Eventually, pushing through the chill that this air inflicts on your bones, you come to a ruin that, unlike the others, has had a small encampment made in it. Long forgotten at this point. But you recognize the signs. Your mentor was here. You can smell the faint smell of buckweed tobacco that he used to smoke. It was bad for him, but it was a little comfort in the cold. You see scraps of gear, pieces of his armor, or one piece in particular, a pauldron that is dented and scratched and almost battered beyond measure. You pick it up. With a little bit of work, it would probably never fit your mentor again, but you might be able to make it fit you.
Ooh.
And you put it in your bag. there's not really much of a sign of where your mentor went next, but you remember the things that were written in his diary. Something about Farrenholm, a city on the northern coast of the Radavi continent, the capital city, if you remember correctly. And you decide, well, that's a better place as any to look for more information, because you're not finding any here. You and Jeffrald head out. After about a year's trekking, you eventually make your way to the Radavi capital. The city of Farrenholm, where sits Skyray's Keep. Okay. And now, I'm going to pull you there.
Yippee!
Let's go to Farrenholm.
Ooh.
It is early morning when you arrive at the gates to the city of Farrenholm. Guards frisk through various merchants and open up various caravans and maintain order in this city. Your rat sits in your pack, as usual. You've grown a bit since you found him. You stand at 3'1" now, whereas your rat only stands at 2 foot tall. So it fits in your bag, for the most part. It sort of looks over your shoulder as you enter into the city. The guards don't stop you. They barely pay you any heed. It's a busy day, and they can't really be bothered. You enter the city of Farrenholm. What is your first stop?
Going to see if they have any better food than whatever rations I brought with me.
Okay. So you've been subsisting off some relatively unpleasant rations, for the most part. Hunted game, berries, and nuts that you've managed to forage. You stop by an inn, to start with. A small place called the Copper Eagle.
Ooh.
It's relatively pleasant. As you enter the inn, you go past an odd-looking gentleman with blue skin, wearing a long blue robe. You speak to the innkeeper, get yourself a meal, and it is the first properly cooked, spiced meal that you have had in maybe a good 6 months, and it is delicious. You sit down to enjoy it, and you watch as various people come and go. A band of adventurers, actually, seems to frequent this place. A odd-looking, silver-haired man with what seems to be a wooden leg. A dwarf who keeps throwing a knife up and down and has ginger hair and a ginger beard. A blue-robed, blue-skinned figure with a heavy-looking staff with a crystal in the top of it. And an orcish fellow who looks to be some form of paladin, though not of the temple that you serve, very least. And you watch them come and go, heading out into the city for their own little things. What do you do after you have gained some food and fed some to Jeffrald, your rat? You chose this name. It's all on
I'm gonna kill you.
you.
Actually, yeah. Do they have a place to bathe at all?
The innkeeper says, well, darling, we can provide a bath in the room if you like. If you're taking a room, that is.
That sounds lovely.
All right, that'll be 1 gold piece for the night.
You got it.
Okay, and retract 1 gold piece from your character sheet. You take a bath in the room. It's warm. They bring up a couple of buckets of warm water and fill the bath. It doesn't need to be too big. You are relatively small. The rat is also bathed. You are both bathed. You manage to have the first proper bath that you have had in months, and you get to clean a lot of grime from under your scales. Don't tell them that, Alexander. They need to discover that for themselves. But yeah, so you have a long, luxurious bath. Well, as luxurious as the first inn in town gets, really. And then you step out around about midday into the streets of the city. What is your first destination?
What else is around?
You are in a city. Probably about the same size as Necronir, but nowhere near as, like, Gotham as Necronir is. That's the only real way I can describe Necronir. It's Gotham. It's so horrible in so many ways. Whereas Farrenholm is more metropolis than Gotham. Except medieval times, you know, kind of. It's a lot brighter here. A lot nicer, a lot more pleasant. You look around, there's shops, there's merchants, there's people selling their wares on street corners. And there is a lot of city as well. It's the first time you've been in a city this big other than Necronir, and it's the first time you've been in a city this big on your own. In a very long time. So what do you want to do?
I suppose just walk around enjoying the sights for a bit.
Okay. You spend most of the day walking around the city, taking a look at the different bits and pieces. You eventually come across a few taverns, a few different places around. And at some point, the city goes from generally well organized to a little bit more in disarray, and you realize that you've managed to find yourself in the low district of the city, which, while not necessarily slums, is a lot more rough and ready. The entrance to the city sits in the middle district, And the low district is a lot more your average sailor type, as it were. The low district also comprises of the docks and the various other bits and pieces around that area. What are you looking for?
I don't know.
As a character, what would be your first instinct?
Look for troublemakers?
Okay, look for troublemakers, sure. You spend most of the day roaming around the lower district, and occasionally you find a drunkard, a few different people that seem to be up to no good. One particular person tries to pickpocket you, and in slipping their hand into your satchel, finds a rat, biting them rather viciously. They run away screaming with rat still attached, so you find yourself having to follow them. Eventually, Jeffrald does let go and scampers back to you. But the pickpocket in question has a rather large gash across his arm at that point from the rat claws as they attempted to flee, rat in tow. You eventually take a rest for the night back at the Copper Eagle, and wake in the morning to hear the sounds of a town crier. Hear ye, hear ye. Lord Gabriel Blackwood found dead under estate. Princess kidnapped. All citizens be advised, a mandatory curfew is now in effect. You step out onto the street, and it is bustling, but not in the way it had been the day before. Many, many people are leaving the city in droves. The murder of a person who is apparently a relatively well-known figure seems to have sparked a mass exodus. And the kidnapping of a princess? That doesn't bode well for anyone. What do you do?
Try to find out more on what the hell happened?
Okay. Roll me an investigation check.
Yippee! Hi, Luca. I have a rat now.
Dusty named a rat Jeffrald.
I tried to name it Barnabas, whatever the fuck I said.
You named it Jeffrald first.
I did. Lucian clowned on me.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, was that your investigation roll?
Yeah.
Okay. It takes you a good few hours of asking around, mostly because people are just leaving, and they are not really interested in talking with a 3'1" kobold.
Man.
But eventually, someone does stop long enough to talk to you about it. Apparently, a high-ranking nobleman got murdered the night before, and the princess, or one of the princesses of the Fernholm royal house, has been kidnapped. The Fernholm royal house tried to keep a lid on it. However, as it turns out, they're not very good at that sort of thing. And it is found that Princess Adna de Ferren has been lost, kidnapped, maybe. No one's really sure what's going on. And the guards seem to be keeping tight-lipped about it. What you have been able to discern is that because everyone is being so cautious about it, the information must have leaked from somewhere inside the castle, essentially, the keep. You've also been told that various members of the Royal Guard were former members of the Knights of the Black Rose. Though it does take you a while to discover that particular piece of information.
Ooh.
So,
What?
What are you going to do now?
Try and talk to some of the guards?
Most of the guards don't seem to want to talk to you. They are very preoccupied maintaining the peace at the moment, keeping people from doing anything particularly rash. Eventually, because I'm working off of your investigation here that you rolled earlier, eventually you do just kind of give up, because all the guards just kind of ignore you because you are not a problem right now, and they have bigger problems to deal with, both physically and metaphorically speaking.
Oh, I can become a problem.
Okay. Would you like to become a problem?
I would love to become a problem.
How do you become a problem?
Can I try to snoop around in the castle?
Okay. Yes, but it'll take some doing to get in.
Yippee!
So, from what you've learned, the main entrance to the castle is in the High District. But the High District is heavily guarded. You've also been able to hear whispers that there is an entrance to the castle through the guardhouse, through the watch house, where the prison cells are located, and that there is also a way to get in through the sewers, but it's probably blocked off.
Okay.
So which of these entrances would you like to try and get in through?
Let's go with the guardhouse.
Okay. So, you eventually make your way to the front gates of the watch house. And the watch house is this imposing stone doorway that is set into a cliff. And it looks like the entire thing's basically been tunneled out of a massive rock face. There's one major door and then two smaller doors on either side of it. You also note that the main doors are open and the smaller doors are closed, and there are guards basically everywhere. The city watch, essentially. So, where do you go from here?
Going to look at one of the smaller doors with my eyes.
Mm-hmm. They all lead into the same hallway. So the main doors are open at the moment.
Can I try to open the smaller ones anyway?
Yeah. They seem to be locked.
Awesome. Are there any other entrances, or is this the only one?
As far as you can tell, because you're not very familiar with the area, this is the only entrance, and it is designed that way, essentially.
Okay.
It's like, this is the big entrance hall to the watch house, essentially.
Well, I suppose I'm just going to walk in then.
Okay. So you walk into the watch house. It's relatively empty at the moment, other than a single guard who's standing at the foot of the sort of main stairway. Who, as you walk in, sort of steps up to you and goes, "Halt! What's your business in the Farinholm City Watch House?" Well?
Hold on, I'm thinking. I want to try and bluff.
Okay.
I'm here on official business with the Order of the Black Rose to, oh fuck, hold on. Regarding the recent kidnapping
Okay.
and murder.
I will give you an option here. Because what you're saying technically has grains of truth in it. You are a member of the Order of the Black Rose, and you are technically here about the kidnapping. It may not be an official thing, but it is an option. So, you can either roll persuasion, if you're trying to lean into the truth part of it, or deception, if you're trying to lean into the lie.
Persuasion.
Okay, roll me persuasion.
Oh.
The guard looks you up and down for a moment. And then lets out a laugh. And says, "Nobody's seen an Order Knight around here in 15 years. That Order's dead. Try another one, mate." And he's gonna start bringing out a pair of large, heavy iron manacles.
Awesome.
Because he does not believe you, because you rolled a 7.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do? You've got maybe half a minute before he decides that he's going to arrest you.
I'm gonna try and bluff again.
You can, but the DC will be higher. Because you've already failed once, it'll be more difficult to bluff. So, like, originally the DC was 15, now it gets raised to 20, because now he's less likely to believe you.
Do I still have my rat?
You do still have your rat.
Can I sick my rat on the guard?
Yes, but the rat might die.
I'm going to sick my rat on the guard.
Okay. You sick your rat on the guard. You drop a rat out of your pack onto the floor in front of the guard. The guard screams and grabs his spear as this giant rat lands on the floor. Let me put it back to its original health pool. And let me quickly name it.
Jeffrold.
There we go. Yeah. The guard screams and is going to immediately attack Jeffrold with a spear.
Yippee.
For a 15 to hit, which Jeffrold's AC is about 12, so that's gonna hit. And the spear does 2d6 damage, which is 3 points of damage to Jeffrold immediately. What are you doing in the meantime, Dusty?
Gonna use this distraction to run further in.
Run further in. Okay. You run further in, up the stairs, and you come to a relatively empty office space. Nobody else is really around at the moment other than that particular guard. Jeffrold is gonna sprint after you because he just got stabbed, and he's not happy about it. I'm not putting us into combat for this, but usually I would. So you have come to an office space. There is a large door straight ahead of you, one set of stairs on the right going down, and one set of stairs on the left that goes up.
Let's go down.
I'm going to go down. Okay.
Yes.
So you head down the right side stairs just as the guard stops screaming and starts running after you. The rat follows you. I'm going to make the rat invisible just so that I can just mark you as being the rat holder.
The rat holder.
And you start heading down into what looks to be an odd sort of observation room of some sort that overlooks the prison cells that are below the watch house. So this area seems to overlook the prison cells that sit below the watch house.
Hey, Luce, I have therapy in half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So we might want to wrap up soon.
Yep, we're getting very close to the end, so.
Epic.
But you kind of have deviated a little bit. It's fine.
I've what?
You've deviated a little bit.
I see.
You are currently in essentially an observation chamber for the prison cells below the watch house. And there is a guard slowly coming up to where you've gone, but he's lost track of you for the moment. So where are you going? What are you doing? Jeffrold has jumped back in your pack.
Can I... Is there like a little bit under the stairs that I can sit in?
Yeah, there's a little area under the stairs that you can sit down under.
Awesome. I'm gonna hide there.
Okay. So you hide there. Roll me a stealth check.
You got it.
As the guard starts his way down the stairs. That is a stealth of 24. This guy has a passive perception of 11. He comes down the stairs, looks around. Where did that rat come from? Where did it go? Looking around. He misses you completely in the shadows under the stairs before he walks back up into the main office area and goes back to his post. You can hear him grumbling as he gets further and further away about random rats.
Best decision I ever made.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you do?
Now that he is gone, I'm gonna go back up.
Okay.
To the door.
You head back up into the main office area of the watch house. You still have the large door in the middle, and then the staircase on the left that goes up.
Into the door.
I'm going to go into the door. Okay. Yeah. So you open the large stone doors and enter into what looks to be some form of council chamber. There's an array of chairs on a crescent-style table, and a large sort of brazier in the middle of the room. There's portraits at the back, there's armaments on various walls. It's relatively well lit. Yeah. It's, yeah, that's about it. It's empty for the moment.
Awesome. What was on the back wall again?
Just some paintings.
Okay. Alright, well, let's go back out and go up.
Okay, so you leave this area. Do you close the doors behind you?
No.
No, you just leave them open. Okay.
Yep.
You start heading up. the staircase. And it is a long staircase. Just kind of keeps going, as a matter of fact. You eventually come to a landing that seems to lead into what looks to be some form of guards' barracks of some sort. But the staircase does keep going up.
Look around the barracks for a bit.
Okay. Are you looking for anything specific?
Any sort of mysterious door or entrance? Like
Roll
perhaps
me an investigation check.
Yippee!
So you do spend a good amount of time looking around, but other than a couple of guards that you have to avoid, you don't really find any hidden doors or secret passages. That doesn't mean that there aren't any. It just means that you didn't really roll high enough to find them, essentially.
Man.
A 14 on investigation, generally speaking, won't find you hidden passages. It might find you a neat, interesting goodie, but if you're looking for something specific, it won't.
This is so sad.
So yeah, you
Veezara
look
played
around for a
Despacito.
bit, but you don't really find anything that would constitute a secret passage or anything like that.
Man.
So, where are you going to go next?
More up?
More up? Okay.
More up.
You follow the staircase out of the barracks, further up, until eventually you hit sunlight and find yourself stepping out into the main courtyard of Skyray's Keep, in what appears to be some form of training ground for the City Watch.
Ooh.
You see to the left of you a large chapel-like building. To the right is some stables and a large gate-like structure. And right in front of you, a very, very large castle. Castle Keep.
Yeah.
However, the castle keep is heavily, heavily guarded. With a great, great many people. The castle chapel, or at least from what you can tell, it is some form of like temple area, is a lot less guarded, and you notice that there's a few small, shall we say, passageways underneath the main platform of the chapel.
To the passageways we go?
Okay. You head towards one of the passageways. Roll me a stealth check.
You got it.
"22. Not bad. Stealthily, you make your way across the courtyard until you get to a large, well, a small gate in underneath the courtyard, sort of patio, I guess, of the chapel. It is locked. You can try to lockpick it if you like.
Yes.
So, you don't have any thieves' tools, which would usually be what you use to lockpick. However, you do have that stiletto dagger, which can technically be used to do so. So roll me a sleight of hand check. 20. So you slide the stiletto dagger into the lock. Twist, fiddle,
fumble around a bit until eventually you hear a click, and the door opens, and you slip into what seems to be the lower levels of this chapel. What might have once been some sort of burial chamber.
Ooh.
Though it is very clean now and rather empty. You step through this area and eventually head up a set of stairs at the other end and find yourself in a large library.
Yeah.
It seems relatively empty aside from a few scribes, and you end up perusing a few different shelves until eventually a large explosion rips through the air and we catch up to the events of the last session.
Yippee!
And that is where we will leave off for tonight. ladies
Fuck
and gentlemen.
yeah!
A little bit of backstory of our newest party member. And apparently the rat that they keep in their backpack. As for now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for joining us this evening. I hope you all had fun. I certainly did. As for now, I am going to throw you all at a TB Sliver, who's currently playing Final Fantasy VIII, I think. Have a very good evening, everyone. Very good night. We will be back tomorrow with something. I don't know what yet. We'll find out. But yeah, thank you all very much for joining us. Have a very good evening, everyone, and a very good night, and we'll see you all next time.
Goodbye!